We're in the Northwest Territories. We're on the Peel Plateau. Behind me is a type of permafrost landslide called a retrogressive thaw slump. It's a type of permafrost landslide that forms in areas where the permafrost contains a lot of ice. Then when you look at the vegetation here, like the dark brown stuff down there, that's 3 years old. Where you have the senecio, the Macedon flower, that's 2 years ago deposit. And then where the green stuff is growing, that's last year's lobe. And then this year's lobe is the one that's flowing. The materials that are coming out of the permafrost, it's not so much their makeup, it's the volume that are being put into the river systems here that are detrimental to the ecosystems.
You want me to take them to a swamp?
Yeah, let's go to the one we got yesterday.
Okay.
So right beneath us, this debris ton, it's infilled a whole valley, and it's accumulated about 35 meters thick here. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these streams were clear water streams before, right? The thaw slumps are releasing all these sediments, and they're just changed, and they will be now for the foreseeable future, yeah. One of the other changes that community members and scientists are seeing are also the drainage of lake in permafrost areas. So as the kind of the outflows of the lakes destabilize, lakes can drain rapidly, or as the permafrost underneath the lake thaws, sometimes lakes actually just disappear because they dry.
We are still in an ice age, and the process of deglaciation is when the ice goes away. In the north, it hasn't ended yet, so we're still going through a period of deglaciation here. But most people may not appreciate this, but half of Canada is affected by permafrost, right? So it's the northern half, but now that everything's changing, it's becoming a really, really important discipline to understand and improve the resilience of the Canadian North, but also to understand global change issues related to the carbon being released from permafrost.
I work with Steve, and I'm Inuvik based. This is a snow manipulation experiment. So what we have here is outlined by these stakes is an area that we got a snowcat, which is just a machine on rollers to go over it and compact the snow in the winter. And then we can compare that to the normal undisturbed tundra. All right, so what we're doing right now is active layer or thaw depth measurements. So we use this graduated probe where we have markings every 10 centimeters. So if we push it into the ground, where we hit the bottom, you can kind of hear it sometimes. That's the base of, at this time of year, the active layer, and shows you where the frozen front is, or permafrost. And so we can measure this to see how deep it is to permafrost in different areas. And then the other thing I can pull out is this. There we go. Okay, so this is a thermistor chain, and so it has a logger on top recording all the information. And then each of these is a temperature sensor, so we know the temperatures over time at different depths. So this would be 0.5 meter, 1 meter, 1.5 meters, 2, and this one goes all the way down to 3 meters below the ground and into the permafrost.
The melting or the thawing permafrost has given us these large exposures, and we can study the conditions beneath the ground surface, and you can actually sample it with a drill system that Alejandro's using over behind us, and you just drill straight into the wall of the ice. The samples that we get from these landslides and from the permafrost, that can tell us what the makeup of the permafrost is, tells the organic carbon content, the geochemistry. And of course, as that material is being thawed and released into the environment, that enables us to understand how much carbon or methane is being emitted to the atmosphere, but also how the ecosystems downstream are going to be affected by the thawing permafrost. So my interest is understanding how the landscape functions, and particularly Indigenous land users and harvesters. I mean, they have an intimate connection with the landscape through their history and through their culture. And so the knowledge and the perspectives that they can bring to the table, and if we can combine that with scientific knowledge, I mean, that's the kind of the most exciting opportunity for building a resilient society in the North. We just haven't built our infrastructure considering all these things, right? So it's kind of one of the important reasons to just study things, because if you don't make these observations, you can't kind of adapt your infrastructure to deal with this kind of stuff. Yeah. A lot of the challenges can't be overcome unless you do basic science, right?